Welcome to the call. This is Jason Moss and with Manufacturing News Network, sponsored by the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. Today we've got a great show lined up. We're going to learn about efficient use of energy and being more effective and saving money. There's a lot of great things that we're going to be talking about. But for those of you that are not familiar with this podcast series, the Manufacturing News Network call is really designed for industry experts to be able to share their best practices with folks around the globe. As I mentioned a minute ago, this is sponsored by the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, but we've got great insights for leaders, and we're going to allow those leaders to be able to share those, not just in the confines of our state, but across the globe. The podcast community is growing like wildfire, and I know that I'm listening to more and more podcasts and learning a lot of things that through this format that has been really helpful, because you can listen to it when you're working out or cutting the grass or whatever, and you don't have to be right in front of a screen. We're gonna provide the video feed as we do these podcasts. We're using Zoom as the platform to capture the audio, but we're going to make the audio available through Spotify and iTunes and in a variety, wherever you listen to podcasts, it's going to be available. But to kind of give you a foundation of why we do what we do, our organization is set up to help support and grow manufacturers, specifically in the state of Georgia. But due to the coronavirus and some of the challenges that we faced, our live events have been pretty well canceled through the end of the year. We've got a couple that we're trying to get lined up in Q4, but between that and then, what we want to do is we still want to be able to serve our members and to share information, and that's the game plan for the day. So with this podcast, you'll be part of the ground floor of Manufacturing News Network podcast component. But our guest today, we're going to talk a little bit about from some Yarvi Sivan. I make sure I got that right. I keep screwing that up. I've been calling. I spelled it wrong one time, and then I've just captured that everywhere that I've gone. So again, I apologize.
That's okay. I have to write it on the mirror every night before I go to sleep, so when I wake up, I know it myself. So
I love it. Well, I love having you engaged with our community. You've been really active in the Manufacturing Alliance and have come to a variety of different tours and events that we've hosted. And I love getting your perspective on what's going on in the world. So I've got a little insight. I mean, I know sort of a little bit of foundation of where you come from and what your background is, but what we'd like to do is share that information with our listeners. And so if you would kind of give me a little bit of insight, that's a very interesting name. So we'll make sure you get the pronunciation right. And tell us, where are you from originally, and what's tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, will do. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I'm really happy to be here. I'm extremely happy to support Georgia, and everything you do is just you and your team do a fantastic job. So really, thank you for everything you do to help us all. My name is Yariv. It's pronounced with a long E, Yariv. And it's originally from Israel. That's where I was born. Mm-hmm. And so it's unique for the US, but it's relatively common in Israel. So, okay. And actually it's male and female in Israel. I grew up I didn't grow up in Israel. I grew up in Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa, though. So till the age of 14, I moved around a lot, and came back to Israel at the age of 14, finished high school, and joined the Israeli Defense Forces for just over 3 years. Okay. And now have been in the States for almost 20 years. I'm happy to say we're proud US citizens for several years now, very proud. And one thing that is true is this still, in our view, is a land of opportunity. And we're very, very happy to be here. And if you're able and willing to work and you know how to manage your money, I truly believe there's nothing you can't achieve in this wonderful country. Nice. So yeah.
Nice. That's great. Well, one of the things I like to do is kind of dig in a little bit in new spaces with folks that I know, but also, for our guests. Tell us maybe something that that our listeners, even if they know you, something that maybe some of the other GMA members might not know about you?
So my passion is business strategy and marketing. So my pleasure is to read tons of books and articles and links and so on in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually surprising to people around me, because very few people I know like reading business material as for fun.
It is.
I mean, it's just something I love to do. And for outside, I learned in Georgia, being such a tennis state,
Mm-hmm.
to love tennis. And that's where, we've been playing now since we got to Georgia over 15 years ago, and haven't left it, just love the game.
Okay.
So those are things, those two my central areas that I focus on when I'm not working.
Very cool. Who are some of your favorite authors? Who do you like to read? What's some of the titles of what you're working on right now, or some of the most impactful books that you've read?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I have literally by my bedside a pile of about 20 books, and every time I read a business book and it refers to um, some other author or some other book, I'm on on Amazon or wherever and buying that book, and it adds to the pile. So there's no limit. I read so many books. I can't really remember all the authors. It's more about all the processes and trying to integrate every different strategy into one collated picture. And one of the things I really feel passionate about is that there is no one method to the madness.
Right.
And so when you read so many different strategies, and every one of these authors believe 100% that they have the silver bullet,
Yes.
I like to take the pieces that I feel are more relevant and combine them with the knowledge I've gained so far. So I don't really focus on just one method or one author or one strategy.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, I'll tell you some of the ones I'll admit I'm kind of with you. I love seeing how the creation, right? I mean, I believe that we're, if we are created in the image of our creator, then we have creation in us, right? That's kind
Absolutely.
of a little Jason philosophy there. And I love seeing how really, really smart people come up with amazing solutions to tough challenges. And in the business building piece, I mean, that's the piece that fascinates me, because, there was nobody banging down the door saying, hey, we need an association for manufacturers.
Yep.
That I know of. I mean, so having the opportunity to, like you said, combine the lessons that we've learned through life and weave those into a fabric that's something of value that impacts the world, right? And that's pretty cool. I mean, being able to do that. Some of the authors that I love, Mike Michalowicz, some of the stuff that he has shared, if you have not read this one, Profit First, that was the first book that I read from Mike Michalowicz. Hands down changed my relationship with finances and money and business forever. I don't know that we would be here today had I not read that book 2.5 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
As an organization. I mean, because it was that impactful.
Yeah.
And he's written several books, The Pumpkin Plan and Fix This Next and that sort of thing. And a good friend of mine, as we were talking about setting up this podcast, I got a great friend, Nathan McGill. And Nathan was the director of a movie called American Made Movie. And it was not the Tom Cruise version. It came out at about that same time, but it was a documentary on American manufacturing. Fascinating. You can get it on. You can download it from
I just wrote the name down.
Yeah, American Made Movie, and it was funded and created out of right here in Georgia, and it got national press. It was a really great movie. But he is a filmmaker, right? And so Nathan's a really smart dude, and he shared with me. I was asking him. I was talking to him about this podcast, and he does a podcast as well. And I said, I want to do that. And he's also a marketer, and that's the piece that's the piece that lights my fires. How do you make this thing work? And I've had this book sitting on my desk, actually in my bookcase behind me for a couple of years, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And it sounded like a good thing. I had downloaded it. It was in my Audible. I'm a slow reader. As jacked up as that is, I read slow. I don't know why God made me that way. I just do. So I listen a lot more. When I'm on the road, I mean, my car never hits a radio station. I'm listening to something. And I listened back through this, and I'm thankful that Nathan kind of came back into my world at the perfect time to share with me this knowledge and this practice. And it is really, really valuable. So Building a Story Brand, it's a great book. I'd encourage you, if you hadn't read that one, the two books I'd encourage today would be Profit First by Mike Michalowicz and Building a Story Brand by Don Miller. And those are, we've got a link on our website, Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. Under the resources tab, we've got a recommended reading list. If you've got things that you would encourage us or want to share with the crew, shoot it to us and we'll pop it on there as well.
I will do it. It's amazing to me how these authors put together things that they have on their mind and from their experience, and how effective it is. Almost like another, we can't succeed in life alone. We always need mentors. We need people.
Yes.
And, we bring about our own success, but without these people, we won't really have it be successful. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me how many of these books that I've read have really taken that position in my life to direct my thought processes and to bring about the results that I too would not be where I am without them. Mm-hmm. So,
and for me, it's just it's a fascinating. So that I'm just in awe of how the right things, the right mentors, and the right books, if you're open to it,
yes,
show up when you need them. Because some of these things, like I said, 2.5 years ago, I bought this book and put it on the shelf. The timing wasn't right. It is now, and we're able to do some of those things. And that's one of the reasons that this podcast series, I'm so excited about really digging in with this, is because once you can archive the bits and pieces, our guest, you'll be able to embed this information on your website. So when people want to, dig in and find out a little bit more, it's going to be there. But also all of the audience and GMA is going to be able to use it and have access to it in the future as well.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
And written in a book, we've been working on this book thing. I don't know if we're going to get into that or not, but writing a book.
I think that project you have with the book, I'm all for putting a plug in here for your book. I think it's an amazing project. If a company can put in the time and spend a little bit of money and support that endeavor, I think it's really going to be something for years and years to come that everybody should have on their shelf here in Georgia.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And the book that we're talking about, if you're not familiar with it, is Manufacturing Success in Georgia. And it's a hardcover coffee table book. And and we've researched the history of manufacturing all the way back to the cotton gin up to the latest, Gulfstream G750, and all the bits and pieces in between. Not all of them, but many of the bits and pieces in between, from food and beverage to transportation to, textiles and the carpet industry and the poultry industry. And it has been really fun to go through and put this together. But there's a movement out there for people that are interested in like getting rid of our history, and I don't want to get into political stuff, but there's, I believe that we need to document our history, and we need to cherish and appreciate what we've done and learn from the past, some of the errors of the past, so that we don't repeat them. Right. And so that's what this book is about. Is telling the title of the book is Manufacturing Success in Georgia. Now it's an illustrated history, so there's lots of pictures, kind of like a lot, right? Doesn't work too good on a podcast or an audible, but it's a really great a great story telling the history. And then we've got some opportunities. We've got a handful of companies that have stepped up that wanted to play a part. We got a couple of spots that are still open, like Gulfstream and Kia. Both of those organizations put a 6-page history profile of their company in the book, and that'll be along with the history. So
amazing
orders and sponsors and that sort of thing to help that go. And we've got we're open for a couple other folks that want to plug into that. But this is going to be distributed to most of the executive leadership and the top manufacturers in the state. And I don't know that it's going to be a New York Times bestseller, but I just about bet you it's going to be an Amazon bestseller. I'll just, lean into that a little bit. But it's been fun to do that. So, but to be able to share best practices, again, that's what GMA, that's the foundation of what we do. That's why we're here on the planet, is to help industry leaders like yourself share best practices, so that other folks can learn from them and we can all benefit from that knowledge.
Absolutely.
If you've already gone out and, got bloody knuckles from fighting or doing whatever you got to do to get to where you're at, and you're willing to share that information, man, that's what we got to do. We got to, we can pass those on for generations to come.
Absolutely.
And so tell me a little bit about your education. You mentioned just a little bit about that, but give me a little bit more insight on your education and what brought you to here.
So, well, I studied marketing and business in Israel in college, and went to work for the medical device industry.
Okay.
And that's been where the majority of my career has been focused on. And the last 15 years prior to taking over this company from my dad, I was a paid CEO for a multinational medical device company. We were selling products in 77 countries at 5 manufacturing facilities, over 3,200 employees.
Wow.
Big business. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting, was fun. But in 2017, my dad started to get ill. Mm-hmm. And he had founded the company in 2006, always been an entrepreneur, always been starting up new stuff. Mm-hmm. And when he started getting ill and the company was suffering due to his lack of ability to invest the necessary time and effort mm-hmm. to keep it running, it was a problem. In the first quarter of 2018, he was diagnosed with lymphoma. Ooh. And he couldn't work anymore.
Right.
I'm happy to say today he's cancer-free. Mm-hmm. But at that time, my wife and I, we just couldn't imagine him suffering from illness as well as losing a business he'd worked so hard to establish.
Right.
All happening at the same time.
Right.
So he and I talked, and we agreed that I would buy the company from him and let him retire and deal with his illness and take care of himself. And that's the story of how I got into this business. And it's been an interesting ride, and the business is doing fantastically now. Mm-hmm. But it was a tough uphill climb, right, from where it came from. And I'm so happy to be in this business. I mean, it's amazing how helpful we can be to so many companies. It's amazing.
Right. Well, having your dad, it being a multi-generational business, that's cool. You don't see a lot of that anymore. But having the experience coming from a multinational manufacturing concern and to a more regional, I mean, you guys are pretty much in the Southeast, right? And I'm sure that's quite a bit of difference. But did you get much of that entrepreneurial gene from your dad?
I've been running new stuff all the time.
Okay.
That's where I was part of the strategic team. When I started the company in the medical device industry, we were 300 employees.
Okay.
I was part of a 15-man team for strategic planning for the company.
Okay.
And we grew that from 9 countries and 1 manufacturing facility with like 300 employees to, like I said, 77 countries, over $250 million in sales, over 3,000 employees, 5 manufacturing facilities. I mean, it was quite a ride in a very short time. Mm-hmm. So scaling, learning how to scale, how to keep high good quality, good service. A lot of good things I learned from that process. A lot of good things. It was the best school I could have had in business.
I agree. Yeah, one of my favorite quotes on the planet. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but the path is made by walking. I believe that's how it is. I mean, you can study and you can prepare yourself as a leader, and try to read and study. But how you figure out how to do it is to get out there and make it happen. And because you can build the best platform launching pad on the planet, but at some point you got to light the fires in the rocket and send it off, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when we're babies, we fall all the time when we're learning to walk,
right?
And we naturally stand up again and we walk. Mm-hmm. As we get older, we fall, and some people have a hard time getting up. Mm-hmm. I think how we get up and how we walk through that pathway defines our successes and how we're represented. Right. So I think that's absolutely, you need to walk the path.
Yes. Yeah, no doubt. Well, speaking of walking the path, let's talk a little bit about company, and the business and what it is that you do. And again, as we go through this conversation, the building the story brand pieces is really, it's just, I have been trying to just get that ingrained in everything that I touch. And as you read through as you read the book, I'd encourage everybody to go get a copy of that and plug it in, see how it fits in your business. But building the story, tell us, who are the people that you typically serve? Like, who are the companies, what departments? So in the story brand, I'm going to give you a little insider track on it. There's 7 components, but basically you have a character and is the hero of the story. And you'll see sort of the flow through this. But who are the people that you serve? Because we found that to tell an effective story, if you identify the character and identify the challenges that they're facing, then position yourself as the guide to help them through that and provide a plan, and then show some of the things that work and some of the things that don't work, that's a story that people can buy into and really understand. People have been telling stories to communicate ideas for a long time, right?
Yes, they have.
Long as there's been, right? There's been parables, right? Forever. And long as the spoken word has existed. But so let's talk about, as you as the guide, who are the people that you help? What are some of the titles? Who do I need to be looking for to be a good referral source for you, and identify the right folks and the right companies and titles and that sort of thing?
So everything we do affects finance or maintenance. So basically operations and finance are
Okay.
our key targeters.
Okay.
Because what we do affects so many things. It affects sustainability, it affects safety, it affects costs, it affects maintenance, it can affect productivity. So there's so many areas we can affect. But primarily, I would say finance and operations, and then maybe as a second level, HR, OSHA, safety, and those kind of areas. But primarily finance and operations.
Right, and we're talking primarily. I mean, the majority of the folks that are be plugging into this series of calls, for the most part, are in the manufacturing space. But do you serve outside of that? I mean, who are some of the other types of industries that you've seen where you can add value and make a big difference?
So we've done, so we primarily focus on commercial. We don't do residential.
Okay.
So we've done multi-rise condos. We've done warehouses. I mean, last year we did a 1.6 million square foot warehouse for Kimberly-Clark and DHL. Mm-hmm. We've done manufacturing, of course, many manufacturing. We've done senior living facilities.
Really?
And medical facilities. Those places have 24/7 lighting on, especially in the public areas. And we found that really good lighting improves the health and safety of senior living, of seniors in senior living facilities.
I would never thought about that, but that's genius.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people can, older people have a hard time seeing, mm-hmm. and now can see more easily where they go, improves their everything in their life. And so. We've done multifamily resident, the public areas of multifamily facilities, outside parking facilities for like Kroger shopping, retail, and those kind of things. So pretty much everything you can imagine, we've done it all other than manufacturing.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, so we talked about, so you're looking at EH&S, you're looking at finance, you're looking at the CFOs, CEOs, the operations folks, right? Yep. So it impacts all those departments. What challenges do you most often hear? What are the things that people say, man, this is our biggest challenge is.
Right. So most of the time, our clients want to achieve several things. They want to save money and make more profit for their company. Okay. They want to spend the least amount of money, of course, to achieve that objective.
Right.
They want to help the environment. Actually, now more and more investment companies won't invest in a company that doesn't have some kind of sustainable energy plan.
Okay.
So that's a big movement, and more the millennial and the younger employee group won't want to join a company that doesn't have some kind of environmental or sustainable plan.
Right.
They want to feel that they're not only coming to work but also helping the environment and Earth. Mm-hmm. They want to reduce the amount of maintenance and its negative effect on productivity. Mm-hmm. When you need to close down manufacturing or an area in distribution to change out lights, that's very expensive. And I think the biggest challenge, though, is that when we talk, we deal with LED lighting primarily. And the biggest challenge is perceiving the ability to take a budget and out of some kind of investment or capital and put it aside for some kind of LED lighting project, and be assured that you'll see the result. That's a very tough challenge for many of our CFOs and COOs, just because there's so many other priorities that need to come first. If it's investing in new equipment or hiring or growing or whatever other project that they have on their plate, putting money aside for a cost reduction project is sometimes a little more difficult.
Okay.
So we're happy to offer solutions to all of these challenges, which I'll of course share with you in just a moment.
Yeah. Well, and how do you? I mean, what's sort of the process? How do you help them identify those solutions? I mean, if you got a manufacturing facility, you've been trucking along, you've got your fixed cost, what relatively what your energy costs are. You got that figured in. How do you help somebody break through that, and what does that look like?
So one thing that a lot of people don't really perceive is that how much of the energy bill lighting consumes. It comes as a surprise to many of our clients that 40, sometimes 50% of the electric bill is actually coming from having the lights on.
Really? Huh.
So it's a huge, it can be a huge part of, the money you pay your utility company.
Okay.
And since what we manufacture and install LED lighting that is more efficient than most LED lighting on the market.
Right.
Our average savings on a capital investment project can be over 70, 80% of that 40, 50% of your electric bill.
Right.
So, you have a choice here whether you want to spend $100 and give $50 to the power company as a gift. Do you want to donate money to the, or not? Everybody now, especially after COVID and during this time period, need every dollar they can get.
Sure.
And so we're able to basically save a lot of that money that they pay now on lighting. I mean, they have to have the lights on, right?
Right.
Even if it's just the outside lighting that you're parking, even if you've put employees on furlough, but your outside parking lights are on every night, you're still paying to have those outside lights on every night.
Yeah.
So people are paying for electricity whether they want to or not, and they don't need to pay as much as they are.
Right. Do you see companies using that kind of as a bellwether to test out, to see how that works, see how it impacts, to be able to just address one component rather than doing a, off the cuff, an entire makeover for LEDs? I mean, is that how you can sort of ease into that transition, or to try?
Yeah, I mean, you can pick and choose. You don't have to do everything all at once, right?
Okay.
So we've had clients that have a big warehouse that it takes the majority is open 24/7, for example, whilst the office is open less.
Okay.
So they'll focus as a phase one just on the warehouse, or those kind of things.
Right. Okay.
Another thing that clients really hate dealing with, based on historic experience, is all these subcontractors for every project, right? You buy from this, but this guy installs and that guy supports, and who do you contact? And they're not synchronized. And one of the things that we bring to the table is that we do it all. So we provide complete turnkey solutions. So we're a one-stop shop for all their lighting needs, and that's one of the things that our clients like Coke and Kimberly-Clark really love, is they don't need to talk to multiple clients.
Right. That's one of the things I was going to ask is what's, I mean, obviously being in the manufacturing space, we get and have had a variety of folks talking about LEDs at different levels and conversations and that sort of thing. What's one of the big things? And it sounds like that may be one of the big pieces that makes y'all different, as you manage the project from start to finish, rather than just providing lights or providing install or doing the evaluation.
So, I think that our differentiators are A, that we do everything.
Okay.
B, my dad's a mechanical engineer. Right from the beginning, the technical aspects of the manufacturing of our lighting was always a priority for him.
Right.
And so our LED lights on average save over 30% more than other LED lights on the market.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That is a lot. So, if you can expect a 40-50% saving on your LED project with normal conventional commercial lighting, with us, you can expect a 70 to 80%.
Wow.
And so that's a huge difference right there.
Yeah.
And then, right now, since budgets are so difficult to come by, we're looking for particular clients that might be interested in receiving free installation.
Okay, well, tell me more about that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so we're able to provide basically through a maintenance plan, instead of charging them on their budget or having them pay any capital up front, we'll come in and we'll install the lighting for free. We'll actually, even now, because of COVID, offer 3-month no payments.
Okay.
So we'll pay their first 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, because we're expecting this is my personal point of view. I'm expecting the next quarter that things will remain a little bit difficult, but then they'll start coming back.
Yeah.
And so if we can help a company reduce their fixed costs by implementing LED lighting and not having to make payments for the next 3 months, it'll give them time to benefit from these savings.
Okay.
Help them, we can do our part to help them get their feet under them. And then they'll have these monthly payments. The monthly payments are calculated from the savings.
Okay.
So if they're saving, 70% or whatever, a portion of that goes towards the monthly payments to pay for this lighting that we installed. And so they'll save up to 40% without having paid a single dime for their new lighting.
Wow. Wow. That can make a huge difference in the bottom line of companies, especially when they're looking for ways to save. And
absolutely.
So the plan, tell me a little bit about the plan. What's the first step? How does that shake out if somebody says, hey, I would love to have LED lighting. I'd love to pay less, and I'd love to not have to pay anything out of pocket. Help me, how do you go from there?
So it's really, our process is real simple. You just need to reach out to us either through our website or email or phone, which of course we'll share at the end of this webinar. We send our surveyor to come out and do a technical survey. So we count all the lights, we measure the light level. We want to make sure that we're giving you the same light you get today. In those areas you want more light, of course, we'll add more light.
Okay.
And our main objective is to save you energy. The more energy we can save you, the more money you save, right?
Okay.
And so the only way we can find out is to come out and do a survey and count the lights, count the hours that you're on. And then we come back to our facility and we do what we call a lead sheet calculation.
Okay.
We plug into this very complex Excel file all of the data. We put in our alternative solutions, our LED lighting that fits best to reach that lighting level that you need. Right. With the lowest amount of energy, and we present to you afterwards a plan, and we show you in that plan how much energy we can save you, how much money it's going to cost, what the monthly plan, monthly cost will be in the 4th month from now when you start paying for it. Okay. And actually, I just remembered one of the things that I had promised you, Jason, was that we'd offer your members, our members, our colleagues, our peers, an additional 3 months of no payments.
Oh, wow.
So for the GMA members, if anyone's interested, we'll offer 6 months. We'll pay 6 months of their payments instead of them. So they won't need to actually pay anything till next year in their monthly payments.
Man, that's huge. That's cool.
Yeah. So very simple. Just reach out to us. We'll send out a surveyor. We'll count your lighting, and then we'll sit down and do the math and tell you what the right solution is for you.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I love that. So I'm going to spin it just a little bit. We're going to have a little different angle from this. So if I'm a CFO, running a manufacturing facility or a owner of a manufacturing facility, tell me, what would it look like if I don't do anything? Right. I mean, so what would failure look like effectively from your vantage point?
Right, of course. So it's like throwing money out on the street, right? So if would any of us take $1,000 and take a certain money, $400 out of that and just throw it in the trash can when the trash can comes around? I don't think so, right? At least I wouldn't. We have one best way to convey this is this company I was speaking to last week. They spend $99,000 a year on electricity on their parking lot. Okay?
$100,000 a year on parking lot
$100,000 a year on the lighting. And we, with our lighting, they would spend about 25 grand, 24,500 to be exact.
Okay.
That means it's $75,000 they're handing to the utility company just because they're not doing anything. So, it's a very simple, it's simple math. It's complex, going into the calculations and identifying where the savings can come from. But bottom line, it's very simple math.
Yeah.
When when you're home and you leave the light on all night, and you walk down because your kid left the light on, right, all night. How many of us have come down and says, why didn't you turn this light off? It's simple math for us when it's at home. It's no different when we're at work. If you can find a way to get the same thing and spend less money on it, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of that image when you see the two cavemen carving the first wheel and the other one's square, and it's like, I don't have time to look at that right now. I don't want to, I don't look at any new solutions, and you're dragging a square wheeled wagon compared to the guy beside him, having a round wheel.
Absolutely. If no action means wasting money. That's the bottom line.
Gotcha. So on the other side of that, so what is a huge win? And you talked a little bit about that. Because I know that in general, the manufacturing community tends to be pretty conservative, right? And manufacturing, I have found in the years of doing this, kind of fit in two buckets. One is ultra conservative, and then the other is loves the bleeding edge. They want to be, first to market and all of that. So I hadn't seen a lot in the middle, but if a company, builds their building with LED lighting and has that mentality and puts that piece in, that's great. But what does a win look like for an existing, like I said, if me sitting in the CFO seat, I decide to make that change, that has an immediate impact on the bottom line, right? We're not talking,
absolutely.
It's not like a solar installation that would take maybe years to justify the cost.
No.
This is something you flip the switch off and flip the switch back on. Tell me a little bit about what an immediate win looks like, and what could you expect on a
the easiest way for me to explain this is that we were doing a 40-story condo building in downtown Atlanta. Okay. And we had started all the public areas lighting on the top floor, working our way down. Okay. And it's a big, very big condo building, and it was very complex. So it took us a while to get down. And so as we were doing each floor, the facility manager was looking at his bill, and as the time went by, his bill was going down as we were going floor to floor. This is literally in most cases, this is literally a direct consequence. You're paying, if you look at your bill, you're paying per kilowatt hour that you're consuming. Right. And so if you're consuming less kilowatt hours, you're going to be paying less. So we're talking about installation in most cases within a month, and then from the second month you're seeing savings. Now let's go even one step further. This is a fixed cost reduction. So it's once it's lower, it's lower.
It's not just a coupon for this month.
It's not just a coupon for this month, exactly. So when we do, when we save you $50,000 a year, it's now $50,000 a year for years to come.
Wow.
And this means that if you own your building, your net operating income also has just increased by $50,000.
Yeah. Huh.
So what that means is, from a finance perspective, if you take the value of a building and you just save $50,000, you've just increased the value, the financial value of your building by over $600,000.
Wow. Wow.
So that's, just by the cap rate percent of 8%. So, that's, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's a low-hanging fruit that you need to catch on.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to do this with you today, is to really dig in and spotlight, because we've known each other for quite some time, and we've bumped into each other at a lot of meetings and
yes, we have.
had little snippets, right? And had lunch a few times, but there's only so much information that you can convey in that environment. And I thought I knew, and this is the piece that I'm really digging, is when you think you know, but having the availability of time to really dig in to find out how our members can help other members. Because, like I said when we started this thing off, my goal for GMA is to help support the manufacturing community and share best practices. And if this is a way, imagine today, if you have a $100,000 light bill for the parking lot and you could make it 25,000, wow. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't share that information. Now, is it a fit for everybody? Probably not, but it would be, I think it just makes sense to evaluate, to make sure that it works, or, what works and what doesn't. So,
well, I can tell you that just one more factoid that I think is really interesting is that in the United States produces 4,170 billion kilowatt hours of electricity.
Okay.
Of that, 520 billion of that is lighting.
Really?
And that's about $56 billion of bills that people are paying.
Right.
If everybody moved to LED, it would save the United States alone $260 billion a year.
Wow. That's amazing.
And if they move to my LED, which is even more efficient, it would save $360 billion.
Yeah.
That's a huge, just from a general financial, government perspective, that's a huge savings for the country.
Well, that's man, this information has been really, really valuable. I appreciate you sharing this stuff. One of the things that we're doing as this series progresses is, we want to find out more, which I think we've addressed, and thank you for sharing your insights and background and that sort of thing, because that helps tell the story. And then share the story about, who it is that you help and what challenges you help them through, right? And helping them be the hero of the story. Because if a CFO can come in and, reduce by 70% the cost of a fixed cost, that makes that CFO the hero, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the game, man. If we can help these guys be more efficient, and then understanding what wins and losses look like. And we all know we get to make those choices every day. Indeed. If we stop long enough to say, is there a better way? I didn't even know that was a possibility. Saving 20%, 10 or 20% on my lighting, man, that doesn't turn my crank. But if you tell me I can save 70 and it's this percentage of my business, it would be hard to turn away from that. So being able to share that story is really important, understanding the products, the services, the impact that it has long-term. But one of the other big pieces that I want to make sure that we always include, of course, recommended reading list, the favorite things that you have, but I want to dig just a little bit deeper. I want to understand a little bit more on your philosophy and your business, where you come from. What would you say one of the top 2 or 3 things that you have learned in business, lessons that you would like to pass along to future generations, like the book that we're working on right now, right? So what I'm doing is I'm digging into some of these executives' mind and saying, okay, you've been very successful in all of these spaces. What lessons have you learned that we could pass along to future generations that can make them more efficient, more effective, and maybe prevent any undue challenges, and help them? If you can just teach somebody to walk around one landmine, that's all it takes, right? So what lessons would you like to share, business and or life lessons you'd like to share with us?
So I would say there's 2 main, I spent some time, I expected this question from you. So I spent some time thinking about that. And I would say there's 2 things that I would focus on. The first thing is learn how to listen. I think that's one of the hardest skills to learn. We're not taught that. And
right.
I know that I've spent, I put together presentations. I've spent many a time teaching my staff and other companies I've consulted to just on that one session, 1 hour lesson of how to listen. And then the second thing, at least this is my personal business approach, is say what you do and do what you say.
Nice.
Don't overpromise. if you make a mistake, admit it. Say what you do and do what you say.
Yeah. I think with those two things, I mean, you can go a long way. I think we would have a more robust and efficient, country if more people did that.
Yes.
It's funny you mentioned learning to listen. I used to fancy myself as a great listener, right? I've been in sales the majority of my life at some level, right? I think all of us have, but I used to fancy myself as a great listener. And then when right after I turned 40, I had my tonsils taken out. And if you know anything about getting your tonsils taken out, they say every year after the age of 6, it like doubles in the severity of having and so I made it a long way past 6. And there was some complications and one thing led to another, but for like 2 weeks, I didn't talk. And I thought
Wow.
that I had listened to my wife, and I thought that I was a great listener in that relationship. But when you can't respond and people have to talk themselves out, it's a whole different world, man. It is really cool to be able to just sit back and listen, and the power of that, and the way that you honor other people in those relationships, giving them the ability to talk through, that's priceless, right? So I think that lesson right there, guys, if you take one thing away from this lesson, this conversation on business and new ways, things that you could apply in your business outside of the lighting, of course, you need to do that yesterday. but something that you can carry on beyond that is really, the impact and the importance of listening. And so thank you for sharing. That was really, really great stuff. So again, this information is going to be available on Spotify and iTunes and wherever you get your audio podcasts. That'll be out very soon. So how can people get a hold of you? Tell us what's the best way to reach out to you? Tell us, best contact path.
So the name of our company is IEO, or Intelligent Energy Optimizers. And our website is ieoenergy.com.
Okay.
You can email me at info@ieoenergy.com or call us at 404-474-2077.
Okay. Perfect. Fantastic. And my famous last question, right, in the conversation. So I've been talking with you a while about trying to put some bits and pieces together, and you stepped up and said, hey, I want to be one of your first manufacturing member spotlights.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that are on the call that are going to be listening to this over the years to come, right? What would you recommend in this process, or how can we be better at what we do? And then what was your favorite part about the spotlight today?
You always ask that difficult question. I was afraid of this interview. I personally don't like being in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. I like doing the work and getting the results. Mm-hmm. And it has been a fantastic experience. You've done such a great job at making me feel at ease. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's my favorite part, is your help, and you're my favorite part in this. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate that. You have been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for sharing this information. Again, we're committed to help support and grow manufacturing across this country, and helping people be more efficient and more effective in what they do, and what you bring to the table matters. And we need to just get that message out. So if you're listening to this podcast, you've enjoyed what you've heard today, make sure that you pass this along and share it, because one guy talking in the woods can only communicate with so many people. But if you've heard this, you've enjoyed it, you've benefited from it, please be sure to take just a minute or two and forward this information along to other people that you think would gain some value in that as well. And with that, we'll sign off, my friend. Thank you. You've done a fantastic job. We'll look forward to seeing you at some upcoming events. And with that, we're signing off. You guys
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.